At the same time, a Parliamentary Oversight Committee will be deployed to supervise government's response to the deadly fire. We're joined now by the National Assembly Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula. Ms. Mapisa-Nqakula, good evening to you. Thanks for your time tonight. So firstly, what has necessitated the step on the part of Parliament?
Good evening, Katie, and good evening to the listeners. Firstly, it is not supervising, but it is more about conducting oversight, which is one of the key functions of a parliament. You'll know that a parliament has three major roles to play, which is the legislative, the public participation process, and the oversight process. And that is what we seek to do. And we should have started by passing our condolences to all the families who have lost their loved ones. We are aware now the number is 77, and we also still have people who are in hospitals who are injured, but also we have plus minus 300 people who are displaced, and hence the intervention by Parliament. I believe that in order for us to have a better understanding of what may have happened in that building on that day and what also needs to be done, we Parliament will have to send its ad hoc committee, which has been anyway moving around the country when there was this flood disaster, to extend its mandate to establish what it is which happened in Johannesburg. But not only that, there are hijacked buildings in Johannesburg, many, several of them. And for years there's been talk of conducting investigations to establish who the owners of these buildings are. And I believe that it is about time that the different portfolio committees of Parliament and the ad hoc committee should now conduct their business of conducting effective oversight.
It's not just Johannesburg that is battling the issue of dilapidated and hijacked infrastructure. We find this problem in most urban centers in this country. So why now, Ms. Mapisa-Nqakula? Because certainly one looks at this crisis, one looks at the responses that there has been from officials across the board, right? So regardless of which tier of government we're talking about, there's been an effort to have a presence in Marshalltown over the last couple of days. But there is a part of it that seems largely opportunistic, because the problem did not begin this past week. As you have said, this is an issue that has persisted for years on end, and nothing has been done about it.
You are perhaps all right. Okay, you are correct, Katie. But the difference here now is that we have lost 77 people. 77 people died in that building, including children. Not only that, we have scores of people who are lying injured in hospitals. And we have plus minus 300 families which are displaced. And therefore, yes, there may have been talk about it in the past. And yes, there are dilapidated buildings which are not being used all over in the urban areas. But the point is now, here we are in Johannesburg, and we see and we are told 77 people have died in a fire which occurred in the night. Not only that, in a building which hardly had enough exit points for people to escape that fire. In an area where, in fact, there is hardly any water and electricity. In an area where thugs come in and collect money for rent every month. And yet, we are unable to say who these people are who are owning this building. Who are these people who are collecting this money?
Well, we know who owns the building. The building is owned by the city of Johannesburg. And the issue that you're raising, Ms. Mapisa-Nqakula, sorry to come in there, is that it's part of the point, right? That it has taken this tragedy to seemingly spur government into any kind of action. And the point is that, why does it need the tragedy? Surely some of the solutions that are currently being looked at could have happened without this tragedy?
I do agree with you, Kathy. It could have happened without this tragedy occurring, but one of the things you have to appreciate as a human being. Yes, human beings will commit mistakes along the way. And perhaps those who should have been tasked with the responsibility of investigating who have taken over these buildings, those who should have by now given reports to the police so that the people who have hijacked the buildings are arrested. Law takes its course, but it has not happened. And I'm saying to you now, 77 people have died. And therefore, somebody has to account. Somebody has to account for it. If in the past, some of the decisions which were taken and were never implemented, that nothing had happened, now I am saying it is that time to make people account for what has happened in Johannesburg. For me, and I'm not saying there should have been a tragedy. There should have been this calamity in order for people to account. But unfortunately, that is just the situation right now. And I'm saying Parliament, as a body amongst others, which has a responsibility to conduct oversight, should then conduct its oversight and even bring in the police and let the police explain to us who are the owners. Yes, you are saying it's the city. Yes, it is the city, but the point is it's other people who have hijacked those buildings.
And the city has a responsibility. The city has a responsibility to get to the bottom of who has hijacked those buildings, and it's the entity that must account. So here's the issue, Ms. Mapisa-Nqakula, is that we talk about Marshalltown today, but in the next 2 to 3 weeks, what has happened in this Johannesburg city centre would have faded from the news headlines. So as convenience serves, so will probably this issue have faded on the agenda of things to look into for politicians. Parliament, of course, is the body that is tasked with oversight, as you've explained to us. And what is Parliament going to be doing beyond this moment and beyond the city of Johannesburg? Because surely, when you talk to even the committee that oversees COCTA, they understand some of the problems that are plaguing local government. And so when we talk about a local government that is not responsive to the needs of the people, this is a consequence of that. And what is Parliament doing to fix that?
You know, Kathy, God forbid, nothing should happen in the coming weeks again. I think we have enough disasters, but I do want to inform you that already today we have received emails from the city and they are requesting to have a meeting and a discussion with regard to what has happened. And for me, that is what I believe is oversight, because we will participate in that meeting together with the chair of the NCOP and the Speaker of the Provincial Legislature of Gauteng. And yes, of course, having done that, it means we will take decisions, and those decisions will have to be implemented. And our role, which is key, is that of conducting oversight and make sure we monitor.
And the fact that the problem is not unique, to Johannesburg, what about the buildings in Durban? What about the buildings in the Eastern Cape, in East London? What about the buildings that are elsewhere in the country that pose the very same risks and hazards that this building does?
I agree, Kathy. And I am hoping that what has happened here now in Johannesburg, other cities, other municipalities responsible for those buildings in other areas will then take responsibility and learn from what this is a bitter lesson, of course, for all of us as politicians. It's a bitter lesson for the people of South Africa that 77 people die in one night. Okay? And I do believe that our councillors, those who are running municipalities, be it in East London, Durban or Cape Town, having seen what we've all witnessed in the past few days, will now take responsibility and check and establish Who are the people who are owning the buildings?
Will Parliament be conducting oversight over that work as well? Will you be doing that?
Of course, as I said, Parliament has a responsibility to conduct oversight. And of course, I am saying all of us together, be it municipalities, be it the provincial governments, stroke legislature, be it national government and national parliament. We've learned from this. It's a bitter lesson, and we therefore have to take steps to prevent a recurrence of this an accident of this magnitude.
Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula is the Speaker of Parliament. Thank you for your time tonight on News at Prime.